Centromeres, structure and function. Inevitably, every chromosome which has a centromere is basically not just a position that holds two sister chromatids together, but centromeres are very essential for every chromosome. So let us look at the learning outcomes of the session. Centromeres, as mentioned, are associated with segregation of chromosomes during mitosis. Without centromeres, the division is faulty. Every chromosome has a centromere, which is a region of specialized chromatin, and based on the position of the centromere, the chromosomes are also classified. CenPA is a histone variant that is found in the nucleosomes of the centromeric region. Other CenP proteins play an important role in the centromere architecture and the function. Centromeres are regions for assembly of kinetochores. All of us know kinetochores are the ones that associate with the spindle fibers. That is the microtubules that are formed during the mitotic stage, especially at the late prophase stage, which in turn, the kinetochores in turn are able to bind to the spindle fibers. Moreover, centromere region also holds the two sister chromatids together. Now let us look at more in detail into the centromere per se. So a general idea when one thinks about a centromere is that it is a darkly stained region in a chromosome. And when you have a region which is more condensed than the other regions, you will find that the stain taken up is more. So the general idea is that centromere is a heterochromatin region, which means that it is a condensed region. So within the chromosome, which already is a condensed region, you will find that the centromeres are more condensed, and it also looks constricted. So one observes that, when you compare it with the other compacted region of the chromosomes, this portion looks slightly more constricted and compact. Now, what has been observed after studies with various model organisms, especially yeast, it was found that the centromere can contain highly repetitive sequences. Although in yeast it is not a repetitive sequence, but in Drosophila, in humans, in other mammalian systems, what has been observed is that the centromeric region or the centromeric DNA is containing highly repetitive sequences. What does one mean by repetitive sequences? It is that a sequence can be found one after the other without any gaps, okay? Tandem, that is what is called as tandem. So they without any gaps of, it is can be repeated anywhere between 10 to 100 times. So in humans, for example, they are called as the alpha satellite sequences. Now, just as mentioned, the positioning of the centromere in a chromosome can be used to actually classify chromosomes into different types. So when you have the centromeric region present at the end of the chromosome, then the chromosome is called as the telocentric chromosome. In this case, what is very evident is that one doesn't have any chromosomes observed the other side of this because it is present at the end. So you only have long arms present, you don't have a short arm present. Acrocentric is when you have two-thirds of the chromosome as long arms, while only one-third is about, or you can say or you can say three-fourth is the long arm and the one-fourth is the short arm. Submetacentric, that is not exactly at the center, but really a little above or below the central position of the chromosome. You have what is called as submetacentric. So here you may consider that this is looking at one-third and this is looking at the two-third. In metacentric, the short arm and the Q arm are almost equivalent to each other because the centromere is positioned somewhere right in between. So that is the way the chromosomes can be classified based on the position of the centromeric region. And as you can see, the centromeric region takes up more strain, okay, and also you find that at the position where the centromere is, you would have a constriction very clearly observed. Now, when you look at the chromatin structure of the centromere, one is very importantly seeing that you have different sizes of the centromeric region. Say for example, in the Saccharomyces cerevisiae, the centromeric fragment, that means the DNA elements, okay, comprise only about 125 base pairs. So it is a very short part of the DNA that forms the centromere, and that is why such centromeres which are defined and very short are called as point centromeres, and you find them more in the Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Now let us look at Candida albicans. You can already see that Candida albicans also, you can consider this as uh, a regional centromere. Why? Because it is not defined only to the central core, but around it you have what is called as the inverted repeat. So it is extending beyond a few base pair to about 4,000 to 5,000 base pairs. So that does cover a certain region, and hence it falls under regional centromeres. Caesosaccharomyces pombe, you can see how the entire centromere is spaced out from 40 to 100 kb. Homo sapiens also from anywhere between 200 kb to 5,000, oh sorry, to 5 mega base. So you can see how long a centromeric region it is, and you can see very much the repeating sequences being present. Interestingly, in C. elegans, you don't even have a very defined region. It is present almost all along a single chromosome, and such centromeres are called as holocentric centromeres. Now, interesting to note is that generally one chromosome has one centromere. It is very rarely found that you would have more than one centromere in a chromosome, although it is not an impossibility. So, why is it that chromosomes have only one centromere? What has been found is that when the chromosomes segregate during the mitotic stage, the presence of more than one centromere can lead to more than one centromere actually binding to the spindle fibers, and the push and pull of the chromosome by the spindle fibers can lead to fragmentation of the DNA. So that's the reason why having one centromere is preferred over having more than one centromere. So as mentioned, centromeres can be point centromere, regional centromeres, holocentric centromeres, depending on how much of the DNA is actually comprising the centromeric region. So we get back to this to go a little into detail of the cent fragment itself. Cent fragment is this DNA part that forms the centromere, or the DNA part where the centromere chromatin is formed, or the kinetochore is formed. Because we all know that centromeres are the positions where kinetochore assembles. Let us begin with Saccharomyces cerevisiae. A lot of studies have been carried out with respect to centromeres in Saccharomyces cerevisiae, and it has been found that the point centromeres that are present in the Saccharomyces cerevisiae have a very defined cent fragment, and it is only about 125 base pair, and that 125 base pair is further subdivided into three domains or three DNA elements, okay, which are called as CDE1, CDE2, and the CDE3. 1 and 3 have been observed to have sequences that are highly conserved. Okay. Interestingly, what has also been found is that if there is a mutation in the CDE3 region, then it has been observed that the centromeric chromatin is not properly formed, and because centromeric chromatin is not properly formed, it affects the kinetochore that is assembled around it, and if the kinetochore assembled around it is not proper, then we know that cell division can be faulty. So the CDE1 and the 3, which are the conserved regions, are able to recruit centromere and kinetochore proteins, those proteins that come and specifically bind to the cent fragment. And the AT-rich region, okay, the CTE2 primarily has around 80 to 90% of AT sequences, and this AT-rich region specifically binds to histone variant CENPA. So the nucleosomes that are present within the CTE2 regions would not have H3 in the nucleosome core particle. Instead of H3, it would have what is called as CENPA, or in the East, it is also called as the SE4P. So this NPA, you will find homologs of this in almost all species, and this histone variant is responsible for a particular architecture of the centromeric chromatin, and it will differ from the other regions where you don't have this NPA. Then let us go to Caeso-Saccharomyces pombe. The Caeso-Saccharomyces pombe definitely has the core region, just like the Saccharomyces cerevisiae has. But other than the central core, it has what is called as inverted repeats. So you can see the arrow over here. This is one repeat sequence, and you'll find the same repeat sequence, but then the repeat sequence is inverted. So these two repeat sequence form the inner repeat sequence, and other than that, outside of this or beyond or an extension or beyond this is found other repeat sequences, which are called as the outer repeats. And so you can see that because of these presence of these repeats, you can see that how the centromere region has now spread across several thousand base pairs, and therefore it is no longer a point centromere, it is a regional centromere. In the D. Drosophila melanogaster, a lot of studies have been carried out with Drosophila as well with respect to centromeres per se, and it is observed that within the Drosophila, there are not just repetitive sequences. So these red regions that you see are repetitive sequences, but what has been also found is interspersed within the repetitive sequences are elements which are called as transposable elements, which we more commonly know as jumping genes. So transposable elements are those DNA elements that can move from one position of the chromosome to other position of the chromosomes. So you can find several transposable elements present within the centromeric region. And therefore, here it is very interesting to understand that generally transposable elements contain a open reading frame. When we say open reading frame, what does it mean? It means that that part of the DNA or that part of the DNA can give rise to an mRNA which can be, translated to form a particular protein, or even just an RNA can be formed. So there is a important facet over here that says that within the centromeric region you can have transcription. In the Homo sapiens, that is humans, it extends even beyond. So anywhere from 0.1 to 5 MB is a centromeric region, and this centromeric region has tandemly repeated satellite arrays. So when you call satellite, it is basically repeating. We know that satellite moves, you have a period, okay, it moves, so every few base pairs you will find the repeat there. So that is why it is called as the satellite, and tandemly repeated because it is one after the other that it gets repeated. Here you don't really have inverted repeats, they are all direct repeats, that is, they are present only in one direction. So these are in the humans called as the alpha satellite DNA, and that contributes to making the centromere have a higher order DNA structure. So that is very important. So basically what we are looking from all this is that the cent fragment, that is the DNA part of the centromere, contributes to the final architecture of the centromere, and obviously therefore the final function of the centromere. However, at this point of time, I would like to say that it has been observed that in many chromosomes, you can have centromeres formed at regions other than the centromeric region. So If there are centromeres formed at regions other than the centromeric regions, then such centromeres are called as neo-centromeres, because a new centromere has been formed in another position. That is the position other than the centromeric region. So in certain species, you would have it so well defined that you have a centromere formed only at one position. But it has also been observed that you can have the centromeres positioned not just at the centromeric region but other regions as well. So the question here is, how is it that at the other regions you can have the centromere being formed or new centromeres being formed? So that answer is the presence of the histone variant CEN-PA. So in fact, what is important to note is that the CEN-PA is a histone 3 variant. That means that it can substitute the H3 in a nucleosome. So we all know that a nucleosome or the nucleosome core particle is an octamer made up of four histones, that is the H3, H4, H2A and H2B, and we all know that H3H4 first forms a tetramer, and then two dimers of H2A and H2B come and form the nucleosome, and around that nucleosome you have two left-handed supercoils formed by the DNA. So you have a nucleosome core particle actually wrapping around itself almost two turns of DNA around it. So when you have at the centromeric region, what has been found is that several of the nucleosome core particles, instead of having the H3, or the H3 may have been present initially, but then the H3 is replaced or substituted by the variant, which is the CEN-PA protein. Now, this CEN-PA, also like all the other histones, contains the conserved histone fold. So, we all know that the histone fold has characteristic 3 alpha helices, that is alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3. The alpha 1 and alpha 2 are connected by a loop that is called as L1, and the alpha 2 and the alpha 3 are connected by another loop which is called as L2. So primarily alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3, L1 and L2 is what is forming the histone fold. And you see a similar histone fold in the CEN-PA. So there are certain differences between H3 and CEN-PA, but if you look at the overall histone fold, it is the same. Now, the C terminal of the CEN-PA, the L1 and the alpha 2, okay, these three together form what is called as a CEN-PA targeting domain, that is the CATD. CATD is present in the CEN-PA. And the CATD is a region or a domain that can bind to many other centromeric proteins. So, in fact, this CEN-PA targeting domain has been noted to be targeting the CEN-PA to the centromere region. So, there is some connect that is there between the CATD and the centromeric DNA. So, centromeric DNA is able to bind to the CEN-PA because of the CATD domain of the CEN-PA. So, therefore, one another interesting factor is therefore that CEN-PA is the epigenetic marker for formation of centromeres. I just mentioned to you that you can have centromeres formed at regions other than the centromeric region. So, suppose at another position of the chromosome, instead of H3, you substitute the H3 with CEN-PA, then there is a possibility that you would have the entire centromere chromatin and kinetochore being assembled at regions where you have the nucleosome core particle having CEN-PA. So what we understand over here is that CEN-PA is responsible for further architecture of the centromere, and therefore in the chromosome wherever you have CEN-PA, there is a possibility of having the centromere. So that is again another interesting fact. Now let us look at how. So this is a canonical H3H4. So when you have the nucleosome core particle having the H3 and H4 as the tetramer, Then we know very specifically that around a nucleosome core particle, the DNA that winds around it is equivalent to 147 base pairs. But in a nucleosome core particle, which does not have a H3, but instead of H3, it has a SENPA. So here what you have is a SENPA H4, okay, that is present. And we also know that when you have the H3H4, you will already find that the DNA winds around the nucleosome even before the H2A and the H2B come and bind. So in this case also, the SENPA and the H4 is the nucleation center for the winding of the DNA, but there is one interesting difference between the two. Where you have 147 base pairs wound around or wrapped around the normal canonical core particle, nucleosome core particle. In case of a SENPA H4 nucleosome core particle, you have only about 121 base pairs wrapped around. And you will find that at the exit and the entry, so you would have about 13 base pairs over here and 13 base pairs over here that is not associating with the nuclear core particles. So they are more open. So where you will have this more compact and rigid, here you will have it more open because at the entry point and exit point of the DNA that winds around, 13 base pairs on both the sides are not associated with the nuclear core particle. So therefore, the understanding is that the SENPA-H4 compacts the DNA, but the compaction is not similar as a canonical H3H4. So there is a difference. Wherever you have the SENPA4, you would have a difference in the higher order structure of the DNA. So it is not as tightly bound. Looking further at the SENPI, therefore, again looking at the kind of architecture or the higher order structure, this is a normal canonical nucleosome core particle. When you have this, you can see that you have left-handed winding and you can see that you have the zigzag pattern, but the space between two adjacent core particles is greater than when you have the SENPA variant. So although here the DNA, the linker DNA, or rather the exit and entry part of the DNA here, so around the nucleosome, it is more closed structure, whereas in this case it is a more open structure. But when you compare the distance between the two adjacent nucleosome core particles that have SENPA, you will find that here it is having less space. So here it is more condensed, here it is more open. So you see, you can see a difference in the higher order structure that is formed because of a SENPA. So the spacing of the SENPA nucleosome leads to a more condensed state that way. But the linker DNA that is there in case of the SENPA are more wide apart from each other, or rather these regions are more open in when you compare it with the canonical nucleosome core particles. So these are certain differences that has been observed with the SENPA containing nucleosome core particles with relation or with comparison to the canonical nucleosome core particle. Moving further, what has been understood is that you may have, even at the centromeric region, the nucleosomes present as canonical nucleosomes, but then there is a specific molecular chaperone that is called as HJURP. Okay, what are molecular chaperones? Molecular chaperones are those proteins that help the protein to fold and also the protein to assemble and disassemble. So, certain protein complexes assembly and disassembly are taken care of by molecular chaperones. And the centromeric core also has a molecular chaperone associated. So, you have what is called as a SENPA molecular chaperone. So, that molecular chaperone will actually bring the SENPA H4 dimer or tetramer and replace the H3H4 with the SENPA-H4. So you can see immediately that you have the SENPA coming and binding or forming the nucleosome core particle. And how does that come in? We know that somehow the centromeric DNA region itself is able to recruit the SENPA. So the molecular chaperone and the SENPA are regulated in such a way that they would come and bind to specific regions in the DNA. Then what is observed is that once you have this NPA actually associated with the nucleosome core particle, then the histone tail of the SNPA seems to have a modification. So we all know that the histone tails are hotspots for modification. You can have n number of post-translational modifications happening, but in this case, because of various studies, it has been found that in the H4 of the nucleosome core particle that has SNPA, the 20th lysine residue is methylated. And this happens in the G1 phase of the cell cycle. So one can understand that during the G1 phase, okay, where the centromeric region is being defined, okay, how is it being defined? Because of the formation of the nucleosome core particle at specific centromeric regions. And then once you have the H4 methylated at the lysine residue 20, it is helping to form a centromere chromatin. So you now have many other proteins of the centromere that come and bind around this region, okay, to form the centromeric assembly. And this essentially is required for the kinetochore assembly. So the assembled kinetochore actually requires this modification. And this modification has happened once you have the SNPA H4. If you have the H3H4, then the H4 tail is not modified at this residue. But when you have the SNPA, then the H4 lysine residue 20 is modified, it is methylated. So therefore, that methylation in the histone tail can influence, because it's a different histone code, and therefore the higher order structure can vary. Now let us look at the centromere chromatin itself. That means how the different centromeric proteins come and bind and form a structure around the centromeric DNA. So there are several centromeric proteins that are associated. So far we have only looked at centromeric protein A, which is the histone 3 variant, and it is part of the nucleosome core particle. Now, the yellow parts that you see over here is a protein that is called as centromeric protein C. This centromeric protein C is effectively able to bind to the C terminus of the SNPA. So, the SNPA C terminus has 6 amino acid residues, and these 6 amino acid residues are conserved, and they are the ones that initiate the binding of SNPC to the SNPA, which is already the core nuclear particle. So you can see that because of the core nuclear particle, you already have the DNA in a condensed form. Okay, that is already observed. But then to form the centromeric chromatin around it, the core particles have to bind to other centromeric proteins, and the centromeric protein C is bound at one end to the SNPA, while the other end is bound to molecules that form the outer kinetochore complex. Okay, so this is very interesting. It is basically not just interacting with SNPA, but it is able to interact with proteins like NDC80 and MIS12 that can form the outer kinetochore complex. Now, SNPC not only just interacts with SNPA and the kinetochore complex, outer kinetochore complex proteins, but in having interactions with these two, it also interacts with SNP HJKM complexes. So you can see that these are tetramers that are present that bind to the centromeric DNA region. So you can see that it is forming the inner kinetochore region. It also binds to SNPN. SNPN, you can see this maroon colored protein over here that interacts with the SNPC. You can see it is very clearly interacting with the SNPC, and you also have the SNPL interact with the SNPC. So basically SNPC is a protein that can interact with many centromeric proteins other than SNPA itself. Now, what is important to note is that the SNPN itself is also able to directly interact with the SNPA. Now, the SNPN does not bind to the C terminal, but it binds to the CATD. So, it binds to the CATD domain that is formed because of L1, alpha 2, and the C terminal domain of the SNPA. So that is another important fact, that this individually can directly bind to the SNPA complex, and in turn by binding to SNPL, it is able to interact with the SNPHI-KM. So therefore SNPN, SNPL, SNPHI-KM or HJKM are able to form the inner kinetochore or the centromeric chromatin. So that constitutes a centromere associated network. It is what is called as CCAN. So this is what is the CCAN. Okay, this entire portion is what is called as a CCAN, and you can call it the inner kinetochore region. There's another protein complex, actually, it's a tetramer. So SENP-TWSX, this tetramer complex does not bind to the SENPA, but instead it binds to regions, it binds to the DNA directly, and interestingly, the DNA wraps around the SENP-TWSX, about 100 base pairs of DNA wraps around it. So in fact, what is understood is that presence of SENP-TWSX can further induce a higher order structure of the DNA, and the DNA can wrap around more. So the compactness of the centromeric region increases because of the presence of SENP-TWSX. But please do also note that SENP-TWSX can recruit the outer kinetochore proteins, or they can bind to the outer kinetochore. So they are also an attachment point of the DNA to the outer kinetochore proteins. So around the CCAN, now you have the kinetochore network being formed, okay? And this kinetochore network generally comprises MIS12 and the NDC80 protein. And this kinetochore network or outer kinetochore network, which has been recruited by CCAN, is directly binding to the microtubules. So the inner CCAN or the inner cytokine cannot, inner kinetochore cannot bind to the microtubules. It is the outer kinetochore proteins that are able to bind to the microtubules. And these microtubules are nothing but the spindle fibers that have been formed during the cell division. So this is how you have the centromeric chromatin formed, which comprises the inner kinetochore and the outer kinetochore. And these are different proteins that form the CCAN. There is one protein that is missing over here because the presence of this protein is optional. That protein is SENPB, okay, and SENPB directly binds to a DNA sequence which is called as the SENPB box. Now, which means that effectively if there is no SENPB box in the DNA, that means you don't have that sequence, then SENPB doesn't come and bind. So therefore, it has been understood that many centromeric regions may not have SENPB at all. So therefore, the exact role of SENPB is not very clear, apart from the fact that the presence of SENPB is somehow stabilizing the centromeric structure further. And so it has more of a structural component, it is more of a structural component stabilizing the centromere and therefore contributing to the function. So when you look at the centromere per se, you can see that this is the CCAN that we are talking about, okay? And this is the outer kinetochore. So you can see that this portion is the CCAN, okay? And within the CCAN itself, or within the centromeric region itself, important to note is that certain regions are more highly condensed than certain regions. So within the centromeric region itself, you can have subdomains. Okay, you can have different phases. So therefore, that is another interesting part. On one side, or you have what is called as a pericentromere. So this portion that you see over here is the pericentromere region, and this that you see is kinetochore. Now, the pericentromere and the kinetochore are very much associated with each other. And the fact that is important about pericentromere is that it takes a lot of tension that is formed because of the outer kinetochore proteins. We will come to that in just a while. Before going to that, let us understand that the centromere is associated with a lot of RNA molecules as well. So you have what is called as centromeric RNA. Now, when you look at this structure, again, it's a repeat of what we have said. This portion is the pericentromeric chromatin. This is the centrochromatin. This is the inner chromatin. This is the outer chromatin. And these are the spindle fibers, correct? And the two sister chromatids are attached to each other by another protein molecule complex that is called as cohesins. You may refer to cohesins in the early prophase itself, where the cohesins are responsible for bringing homologous sister chromatids together, and they hold the sister chromatids together. So they attach the two sister chromatids to each other. So the presence of centromeric RNA gives one aspect, is that there are portions of centromere that can get transcribed. And which portion of the centromere is going to be transcribed is determined by several factors or several regulatory mechanisms, one of which is what kind of histone modification is present. Based on the presence of a certain histone modification, you would have certain transcription factors or regulators getting recruited by these modifications in the histone tails of the nuclear core particles in the centromere, and depending on that, you can have the RNA polymerase coming in, binding to the DNA and synthesizing the RNA. Interestingly, what has been noted is that many of these RNA may not actually get translated. So you will find that several of these RNA are just simply non-coding RNA. Okay, and the question therefore arises is, why should there be centromeric RNA present? Why should there be presence of RNA at all, when our understanding is that heterochromatin region of DNA do not really get transcribed? But here what you observe is that within the centromere there are subdomains formed, and because there are subdomains formed, there are possibilities of certain centromeric DNA getting transcribed. And the RNA form has a role to play in stabilizing the architecture of the centromere and also initiating the functioning of the centromere. So let us look at what are the functions that the RNA can have. These are the proposed functions. There is still more lot of studies that need to be done to actually identify what the RNA or how the RNA contributes, but these are certain things that have been hypothesized, and also there are certain proofs of the fact that yes, there is definitely proof of the fact that there is RNA associated with the centromere. And there are studies that have also suggested that many of the RNA may not have originated from the centromere itself. They can have been, they can have been formed in different euchromatin regions of the chromosome, but they come and assemble at the centromeric region definitely. Now, you can see these red structures that are there over here. These are the RNA. And one of the suggestions and one of the studies that have associated the RNA is with the tethering of the, the outer kinetochore with the central kinetochore. So the RNA can recruit proteins to the CEN region, helping in assembly of both the centromeric chromatin as well as the kinetochore. So, in fact, what has been understood is that they form scaffolds for more protein to come and bind, and when they bind to proteins themselves, they form ribonucleoprotein complexes. So these ribonucleoprotein complexes help in maintaining the structure of the centromere. They seem to be also helping in forming the subdomains within the centromeres. You know, one phase of the centromere can be separated from the other phase of the centromere by different types of RNA that is binding. So you can have long nuclear, RNA present, or you can have short RNA as well present. Then one indication is that the CNPC, we know that CNPC directly binds to CNPA, and it can also bind to outer, kinetochore proteins. It seems the CNPC has domains that can interact with RNA. So, in fact, the binding of the CNPC to the RNA is already forming the ribonucleoprotein complex, and that complex is more, stable or more interactive to bind to the kinetochore outer complex proteins. Interestingly, one other study is suggesting that these RNA actually function as signaling molecules. But there is more to understand before claiming these particular aspects. Although the truth is that you do have RNA associated with the centromere, and more so as ribonucleoprotein complexes. So, in fact, the RNA may be regulatory, and it can also interact directly with the DNA. So, the RNA DNA interaction also seems to have a role to play in regulating several functions of the centromere. Now, we come to the pericentromeric region. So the pericentromeric region is actually responsible for sister chromatid cohesion. So this particular region of the centromere is more associated with bringing or holding the two sister chromatids together, although it definitely has a role in also getting associated with the kinetochore, which in turn is associated with the microtubules, that is the spindle fibers. So this is a cohesin molecule, and so the cohesion is possible because of cohesins. So the pericentromeric region is actually stabilizing the cohesion by interacting with cohesins. Now the cohesins basically are made up of several different proteins. So you have what is called as the structural maintenance of chromosome protein 1 and 2. You have what is called as the hinges of the SMC bringing them together. You have claisins, and you have also what is called as domains that have motor, or they have what is called as ATPase function. So in fact this can open and attach, wrap around the entire double stranded DNA. So you can already see that cohesins is holding the sister chromatids together. And what you observe is that the you see how the cohesins are not just associated with the sister chromatids, but they are also intertwining the sister chromatids together in such a way that you have a complete pericentromere being formed. So this entire portion is what is called as the pericentromere, and you can see how the pericentromere is bound to the kinetochore region, which in turn is bound to the spindle fibers. So as you can observe over here, because of the binding of the cohesin molecules, you can see that a lot of DNA is being looping out over here, and somehow there that is leading to a higher order structure that condenses the chromatin further. So you can see this is one simulated structure that has been formed, that of the yeast particularly, and you can see over here the red rings which are present over here. These red rings are basically the cohesins keeping the loops together and forming a heterochromatin region over here. Now, why does this have to be present, or what is the function that is associated with the pericentromeric region? Well, the main role, of course, has been in cohesion of the sister chromatids, but another role that the pericentromere is basically doing is that it takes up, or it is able to tolerate the stress that is created due to the spindle fiber dynamics. We all know that the spindle fiber is itself showing what is called as dynamic instability. That means it can get assembled and disassembled, and because of disassembly we know that you have the two sister chromatids being pulled to the two poles. Okay, so you know that the microtubules per se are very highly active, and so when they are dynamically changing their composition and structure, the it is the pericentromere that takes up that stress. So it ensures that the sister chromatids do not break because of the tension generated due to the microtubule dynamics. So that is one important role associated with the pericentromeric region. Please do understand that this session has given you just an overview. When you read a lot of research papers, you will find out how much more proteins are associated with the centromeric region. There are so many regulatory proteins that are associated with the centromeric region, and all of them together make this entire centromere a complex structure. So, what one visualizes as centromere just being a heterochromatin region is not true. It is so much more dynamic than just a heterochromatin. So let us make the conclusions. Centromeres are regions that are marked by CEN-PA nucleosomes. So they become kind of epigenetic markers which are able to influence higher order DNA structure. To note, what do we mean by epigenetic? Epigenetic is when you have no sequence change. That means the nucleotide base pair or the base pairs do not change, but the base pairs can be modified, that is epigenetic, or histones can get modified, that is epigenetic. So, because histones are all the time associated with the DNA, they are epigenetic markers in themselves. There are several proteins that assemble around the centromeric region, forming the centromeric chromatin, inner and outer kinetochore that interacts with the spindle fibers, and therefore centromeres are associated with segregation of chromatids in the cell division. The pericentromeric region stabilizes cohesion, which in turn enables the sister chromatids to stay together. The pericentromeric region also helps take the tension due to microtubule dynamics. The centromere is divided into subdomains, can be transcribed, and centromeric RNA can help form a scaffold to stabilize the centrochromatin and kinetochore. So RNA can also play a regulatory role in this. Thus, centromeres are highly complex regions that are needed for proper cell division. So you need to have a centromeric DNA region as well as several proteins that associate with centromere to give it a particular architecture and function. The journey to understand the structure and function of the centromere is still in progress. We still do not know the complete story of the centromere, but this is itself telling how important a role centromere has to play. And this also kind of tells that not all DNA are junk DNA. So even if they are non-coding regions, they have a role to play. Thank you.